The school hallway was loud, filled with students rushing to class, lockers slamming, and laughter bouncing off the walls. Among them was a quiet boy who kept to himself, always wearing a faded hoodie and headphones. He wasn't small, but he wasn't the biggest either, just someone who seemed to prefer being invisible. A group of guys, the usual troublemakers, had made it their mission to mess with anyone they thought wouldn't fight back. They'd shove people into lockers, steal lunches, and throw insults like they were nothing. That day, their eyes landed on the quiet kid. "Yo, look at this dude," one of them sneered, nudging his friend. "Think he even talks?" The quiet boy kept walking, ignoring them. But that only made them bolder. One of the bullies stepped in front of him, blocking his path. "Hey, I'm talking to you. You deaf or something?" The boy finally looked up, his dark eyes calm but sharp. "Move," he said, his voice low. The bullies laughed. "Or what? You gonna cry?" The boy didn't answer. He just stood there, waiting. The biggest of the group, a guy who thought he owned the school, shoved him hard. "You don't tell us what to do." The quiet boy stumbled back but caught himself. His expression didn't change, but something in his stance shifted, like a switch had been flipped. The bullies didn't notice. They never did. One of them swung, aiming for his face. What happened next was too fast for anyone to process. The quiet boy dodged, grabbed the guy's wrist, and twisted, just enough to make him yelp. Before the others could react, he swept the second guy's legs out from under him, sending him crashing to the floor. The hallway fell silent. The third bully froze, his fists still raised but his confidence gone. The quiet boy just looked at him, not even breathing hard. "I said move." This time, they listened. The bullies scrambled back, helping their friend up, their faces a mix of shock and embarrassment. The quiet boy didn't say another word. He just adjusted his hoodie, put his headphones back on, and walked away like nothing had happened. But everyone saw it. And suddenly, no one wanted to mess with him again. The quiet boy walked home alone after school, his hands stuffed in his pockets, the hood of his sweatshirt pulled low over his face. The fight, if you could even call it that, had lasted less than 10 seconds, but it was already the only thing people were talking about. He could feel their stares, hear the whispers as he passed. "Did you see that? Who even is that guy? I heard he used to train in some crazy martial arts." He ignored them. His house was at the edge of town, a small, worn-down place with a cracked driveway and a rusted bike leaning against the porch. Inside, the TV was on, some old action movie playing in the background. His older brother was sprawled on the couch, half asleep, a bag of chips in his lap. "You're home early," his brother mumbled, not even looking up. The quiet boy dropped his backpack on the floor. "Got into it with some guys at school." That got his brother's attention. He sat up, eyes sharp. "They started?" "Yeah." "Did you finish it?" The quiet boy shrugged. "They won't try again." His brother smirked, tossing him the bag of chips. "Good. It wasn't always like this." A few years ago, their neighborhood had been rougher, gangs, fights, cops showing up at all hours. Their dad had been around back then, a hard man who believed in two things, respect and survival. He'd taught both his sons how to throw a punch before they were 10, not because he wanted them fighting, but because he wanted them ready. "The world ain't fair," he used to say. "Better to know how to handle yourself than to be someone's victim." But then he was gone, jail, this time for good, and their mom worked double shifts just to keep the lights on. The quiet boy had promised himself he'd never end up like his dad. He didn't want trouble. But trouble had a way of finding him anyway. The next day at school was different. People glanced at him in the halls, some with curiosity, others with nervous respect. Even teachers seemed to watch him a little closer. The bullies from yesterday were nowhere to be seen, at least not near him. But one person didn't seem afraid. A girl from his math class, someone who usually never spoke to anyone, slid into the seat next to him. "Hey," she said quietly. He looked at her, waiting. "I saw what happened yesterday." She hesitated. "Those guys have been messing with people for months. No one ever stood up to them." He didn't answer. She bit her lip, then pushed a folded note toward him before walking away. He waited until she was gone before opening it. "Thank you." That was it. Just 2 words. For the first time in a long time, the quiet boy felt something other than annoyance. Maybe he hadn't just scared off some bullies. Maybe he'd done something good. But he knew it wasn't over. Because across the cafeteria, the leader of those bullies was staring right at him. And the look in his eyes wasn't fear. It was anger. The school cafeteria buzzed with noise, trays clattering, friends laughing, the usual chaos of lunchtime. But at one table, the mood was different. The leader of the bullies, a thick-necked guy with a permanent scowl, sat surrounded by his crew. His name didn't matter. What mattered was the way his fists clenched every time he glanced across the room. His friends shifted uncomfortably. One of them, the guy who had hit the floor the hardest yesterday, rubbed his wrist like it still hurt. "Maybe we should just leave it alone, man," he muttered. The leader's face darkened. "So we just let some nobody embarrass us like that?" "Nah. That ain't happening." The others exchanged glances. They'd all seen the quiet boy move, fast, precise, like he'd done it 100 times before. None of them wanted a second round. But the leader wasn't backing down. There was something else driving him, something deeper than pride. After school, the quiet boy took his usual shortcut home, a narrow alley between the gym and the old convenience store. He'd walked it 1,000 times. But today, the air felt off. He slowed his steps. Listened. Then he heard it, the scuff of shoes behind him. He turned just in time to see the leader step out from behind a dumpster, a metal pipe in his hand. 2 of his friends lurked further back, looking nervous but not stopping him. "You think you're tough?" the leader spat. "Let's see how tough you are now." The quiet boy didn't move. His eyes flicked from the pipe to the guy's face. "You don't want to do this." The leader laughed, but it sounded shaky. "Yeah? What's gonna stop me?" A voice cut in from the alley entrance. "Me." Everyone turned. It was the quiet boy's older brother, leaning against the brick wall like he'd been there the whole time. He wasn't big, but something in his stance screamed danger. The leader hesitated, pipe lowering slightly. "This ain't your business." The brother pushed off the wall. "You threatening my little brother? That makes it my business." For a long second, no one moved. Then the leader's arm twitched, like he was thinking about swinging anyway. The brother sighed. "Kid, you got 3 seconds to walk away before I forget you're just some dumb high schooler." Something in his tone, the cold certainty, finally broke through. The pipe clattered to the ground as the leader backed up, his bravado crumbling. His friends didn't wait, they were already gone. The quiet boy watched them leave, then turned to his brother. "I had it handled." His brother snorted. "Yeah, I know. But sometimes it's better when they see you're not alone." That night, the quiet boy lay awake, staring at the cracks in his ceiling. He thought about the girl who'd thanked him. The way the bullies had scattered. His brother showing up like some kinda guardian angel. He wasn't used to people having his back. And he couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't over. Because the leader? That kind of humiliation didn't just disappear. It festered. And sooner or later, it would explode. The next morning, the quiet boy spotted her before she saw him. The girl from math class, the one who'd slipped him the note, was hunched over at her locker, shoulders tense like she was trying to disappear into herself. Behind her, two smirking girls whispered loudly enough for the whole hall to hear. Think she actually believed he cared about her? Probably thought she had a chance with Mr. Mysterious. A sharp laugh. As if. The quiet boy's stomach twisted. He knew this game. Bullies didn't just go away, they found new targets. And because she'd dared to thank him, she'd become theirs. He started toward her, but a hand grabbed his arm. Don't. It was his brother, standing in the hallway like he belonged there. He must have come to drop off paperwork for their mom. The quiet boy yanked free. They're messing with her because of me. His brother's grip tightened. And if you charge in like some hero, it gets worse. Think. For a second, they just glared at each other. Then the quiet boy exhaled hard. His brother was right. Fighting those girls wouldn't fix anything, it'd just paint a bigger target on the girl's back. So he did something smarter. He walked right past the bullies, ignoring their taunts, and stopped at the girl's locker. Hey, he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. You got the notes from yesterday's class? I missed some. The girl blinked up at him, eyes wide. Behind them, the whispering stopped dead. Yeah, she stammered. She fumbled in her bag and pulled out a notebook. Thanks. He took it, holding her gaze just a second longer than necessary, a silent I see you. Then he turned and walked away, feeling the burn of stares on his back. It wasn't a punch. Wasn't a threat. But it was enough. The bullies didn't bother her again that day. After school, the quiet boy took the long way home, cutting through the park. He needed to think. That's when he saw him. The bully leader sat alone on a rusted swing, shoulders slumped, scuffed sneakers dragging in the dirt. No friends. No tough guy act. Just a kid who looked tired. The quiet boy almost kept walking. But something made him stop. You gonna swing at me again? The leader's voice was flat, not even looking up. Nah. The quiet boy leaned against the swing set. Just wondering why you're so set on being a jerk. For a long minute, there was only the creak of chains. Then. You don't know nothing about me. The leader kicked at the ground. My old man. He says if I ain't the toughest, I ain't nothing. And now. He trailed off, jaw working. Now he wasn't. The quiet boy studied him, the too big hoodie hiding what might have been bruises, the way his hands shook just slightly. Suddenly, the fights made sense. Your dad's wrong, he said simply. The leader finally looked up, eyes red-rimmed. What? You heard me. The quiet boy pushed off the swings. Being tough ain't about picking on people weaker than you. That's just being weak inside. He walked away then, leaving the other boy staring after him. Maybe it'd stick. Maybe not. But for the first time, he wondered if the real bully wasn't the kid at all. The quiet boy was halfway through his lunch when a shadow fell over his table. He looked up to see the girl from math class standing there, gripping her tray so hard her knuckles were white. Can I sit here? She asked, voice barely above a whisper. He nodded toward the empty seat across from him. She sat down, but instead of eating, she just stared at her food. The cafeteria noise around them felt suddenly too loud. After a minute, the quiet boy spoke first. They bothering you again? She shook her head. Not like before. It's something else. She took a shaky breath. My little brother. He's in middle school. Some older kids are. Her voice cracked. They take his lunch money every day. He comes home crying. The quiet boy's fingers tightened around his juice box. He knew exactly how that felt, being small, being scared, having no one step in. I tried telling the principal, she continued. But they said unless there's proof. She trailed off, frustration flashing in her eyes. The quiet boy studied her. She wasn't asking for help. Not directly. But she was here, wasn't she? He crumpled his empty chip bag. What time does he walk home? That afternoon, the quiet boy waited near the middle school fence, hood up, leaning against a tree. He spotted the little brother immediately, a tiny kid with the same nervous hunch as his sister, clutching his backpack straps like armor. And sure enough, 3 bigger boys swaggered up to him, grinning. "Hey, shrimp. Pay up." The little brother's shoulders slumped as he reached into his pocket. "Yo." All 4 kids turned. The quiet boy pushed off the tree and walked over, hands in his pockets. He didn't raise his voice. Didn't clench his fists. Just stood there, looking at them. The middle school bullies froze. They recognized him, not by name, but by the way he carried himself. By the quiet danger radiating off him. One of them swallowed hard. "We were just leaving," the quiet boy finished. "Yeah. Do that." They scrambled away so fast one of them tripped over his own feet. The little brother stared up at him, eyes huge. "Who are you?" The quiet boy almost smiled. "A friend of your sister's." He nodded toward the sidewalk. "Come on. I'll walk you home." Back at the high school the next day, word spread fast. By third period, kids kept glancing at the quiet boy with something like awe. The girl from math class slipped him another note, this one just a scribbled thank you with a little smiley face. But it was what happened after school that surprised him most. The bully leader was waiting by the bike racks. Alone. The quiet boy tensed, ready for round 2. But the other boy just held out a crumpled flyer. "Wrestling tryouts," he muttered, not meeting his eyes. "Coach says if I get a team together, he'll keep it going. Thought, maybe you'd be good at it." The quiet boy took the flyer, surprised. "Why?" The leader scuffed his shoe on the pavement. "Maybe you were right. About my dad being wrong." He finally looked up. "And I saw what you did for that middle school kid. That was decent." For a long moment, they just stood there. Then the quiet boy folded the flyer and pocketed it. "I'll think about it." It wasn't a yes. But it wasn't a no. And for the first time, school didn't feel like a battlefield. The wrestling mats smelled like sweat and old rubber as the quiet boy stepped into the gym after school. A handful of guys were already stretching, some he recognized from the halls, others he'd never spoken to. At the front of the room stood the coach, a grizzled man with a whistle around his neck and a clipboard in hand. The bully leader, now just another kid in gym shorts, spotted him first. "You came." The quiet boy shrugged. "Said I'd think about it." Coach blew his whistle. "All right, listen up. Wrestling's not about being the biggest or the meanest. It's about discipline. Control. And most of all, respect." His eyes lingered on a few faces like he knew exactly why they were here. First drill, partner up. The quiet boy found himself paired with a skinny freshman who looked terrified. Across the mat, the former bully leader was showing a new kid how to tie his shoes properly. Something about that felt different. 2 weeks later, the team was starting to click. The quiet boy still didn't talk much, but he'd begun recognizing the others' footsteps, who dragged their heels, who walked too fast. He knew which guys needed extra help with the moves, who secretly hated losing but would never admit it. After practice one day, the coach pulled him aside. "You've got natural talent. Ever think about competing?" The quiet boy wiped sweat from his forehead. "Not really my thing." "Could be," the coach said. "Channel that focus of yours. Give you somewhere to put it besides." He trailed off meaningfully. The quiet boy knew what he meant. The fights. The reputation. The way teachers still watched him in class. He was about to answer when his phone buzzed. A text from his brother. Need you. Alley behind 7th Street now. The quiet boy's stomach dropped. That was their old code, the one they used when things were bad. The alley stank of garbage and something sharper, fear, maybe. His brother was backed against a wall by 2 older guys, one holding a bat. Took your sweet time, his brother said through split lips. But his eyes said something else, get out of here. The quiet boy didn't move. What's going on? One guy smirked. Your brother here owes us. Big. His brother shook his head slightly. A warning. These weren't schoolyard bullies, they were the real deal. The kind their dad used to run with. The quiet boy's hands curled into fists. Every instinct screamed to fight. But then he remembered the wrestling mat. The coach's words. The way it felt to help someone up instead of knocking them down. He took a deep breath. How much? The guys laughed. You got 500 on you, kid. The quiet boy reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. No. But I know who does. He called the coach. An hour later, the quiet boy sat on his front steps, staring at his scraped knuckles. It hadn't gone perfectly, there'd still been a scuffle before the coach showed up with the cops. But no one was seriously hurt. And more importantly, his brother was safe. The screen door creaked open. His brother sat beside him, holding a bag of frozen peas to his face. You shouldn't have done that. Done what? Called for help? His brother gave him a look. You know what I mean. That's not how we handle things. The quiet boy picked at the peeling paint on the step. Maybe it should be. For a long moment, they just sat there in the dark. Then his brother sighed. Coach really came through, huh? Yeah. The quiet boy hesitated. He said, if I keep my grades up, there's a chance at a scholarship. For wrestling. His brother went very still. Then, slowly, he nodded. That's good. Neither of them said what they were both thinking, that it was a way out. A real one. At school the next day, everything felt different. The quiet boy walked a little taller. The former bully leader nodded to him in the hall like they shared a secret. Even teachers smiled at him now. But the biggest surprise came at lunch. The girl from math class slid into the seat beside him, and this time, she wasn't alone. Her little brother plopped down too, grinning. Guess what? The little brother announced. Those guys at my school? They asked me to join their basketball team. The quiet boy raised an eyebrow. Yeah. The kid nodded fiercely. Said they needed someone fast. And I think they're kinda scared of you. The girl elbowed her brother, but she was smiling. The quiet boy found himself smiling back. Maybe, just maybe, things were changing. The gymnasium lights buzzed overhead as the quiet boy adjusted his headgear. The state wrestling qualifiers were louder than he expected, parents cheering, coaches shouting last-minute advice, the squeak of sneakers on polished floors. His stomach tightened as he scanned the bracket board. Match 3, Northside High vs Eastview. His former bully leader, now his teammate, bumped his shoulder. You got this. That Eastview kid's all muscle, no technique. The quiet boy nodded, rolling his shoulders. He'd spent months training for this. But as he stepped onto the mat, something unexpected happened. His opponent wasn't some faceless rival. It was one of the guys from the alley. The one who'd threatened his brother. Recognition flashed in the other wrestler's eyes. A nasty grin spread across his face. Well, look who grew a backbone, he sneered under his breath as they shook hands. The referee blew the whistle. The first period was brutal. Every grip felt like a personal challenge, every takedown attempt laced with unspoken history. The Eastview wrestler kept talking through clenched teeth. "Thought you were too good for this neighborhood. Your brother still crying to cops?" The quiet boy's vision tunneled. Old anger bubbled up, the kind that used to make him swing first and think later. He missed an easy reversal, nearly got pinned. Across the mat, his coach's voice cut through the noise, "Head in the game." He glanced at the sidelines. His brother was there, leaning forward in the bleachers. Not shouting. Just watching. Waiting. The quiet boy took a deep breath. When the second period started, everything changed. It wasn't flashy. Just clean, technical wrestling, exactly what his coach had drilled into him. A single leg takedown. An iron-tight half Nelson. The more his opponent struggled and cursed, the calmer the quiet boy became. In the final seconds, with the score tied, he saw his opening. A quick duck under, hips driving forward, and suddenly the Eastview wrestler was on his back, shoulders pinned to the mat. The referee slapped the surface. Match over. As they shook hands afterward, the defeated wrestler wouldn't meet his eyes. But the quiet boy said what no one had ever said to him after a fight. "Good match." Later, in the empty locker room, his brother found him packing his gear. "You could have destroyed that guy," his brother said quietly. "Why didn't you?" The quiet boy zipped his bag. "Didn't need to." His brother studied him for a long moment, then nodded. "Coach was right about you. You're different." The words hung between them, not an accusation, but something like pride. The quiet boy wanted to say it wasn't that simple. That part of him still wanted to fight dirty, to settle every score with his fists. That changing was harder than anyone knew. But all he said was, "Trying to be." The bus ride back to school was loud with celebration, they'd qualified for states. The former bully leader was retelling the winning match with dramatic gestures, making the team laugh. The quiet boy stared out the window at passing streetlights. He thought about the scholarship applications in his backpack. The college brochures his coach kept giving him. The way it felt to win because he was better, not just angrier. For the first time, the future didn't seem like some distant dream. It felt possible. The state championship arena hummed with nervous energy. The quiet boy sat on the bleachers, his singlet damp with sweat from his last match. His hands didn't shake anymore before fights, not like they used to. Now there was just a steady focus, like the calm before a storm. His coach crouched in front of him, gripping his shoulders. "This is it. Win this, and that scholarship's yours. No more scraping by. No more." He didn't finish, but they both knew what he meant. "No more ending up like your old man." Across the gym, his final opponent warmed up, a reigning state champ from some private academy, all crisp gear and perfect form. The kind of kid who'd never had to fight for anything but trophies. The quiet boy stood, rolling his neck. Time to show what real strength looked like. The match started like a chess game, both fighters circling, testing grips. The private school kid was good, no doubt. Technical. Precise. But something was missing. When the quiet boy countered his third takedown attempt, he saw it, the flicker of frustration in his opponent's eyes. This kid wasn't used to being challenged. By the second period, the quiet boy had found his rhythm. His moves weren't fancy, just effective, honed in that cramped school gym, perfected through months of grinding work. Every time the rich kid tried something flashy, the quiet boy answered with fundamentals. Then came the moment that changed everything. A bad shot left the private school kid's leg exposed. The quiet boy grabbed it instinctively, just like he'd done 100 times in practice. But as he drove forward, he heard the pop before he felt it. His opponent's knee gave way with a sickening crunch. The kid screamed. The arena fell silent as medics rushed the mat. The quiet boy stood frozen, his chest heaving. He hadn't meant to. Advance by injury default, the referee announced. Just like that, he'd won. But as the crowd's polite applause started, the quiet boy didn't move toward the podium. He knelt beside his injured opponent instead. "You okay?" The kid grimaced, face pale with pain. "Does it look like I'm okay?" A medic tried to shoo him away, but the quiet boy stayed put. "That move. I should have eased up. Didn't mean to. Just." The kid swallowed hard. "Just go get your damn medal." But the quiet boy waited until they'd carried him off. The award ceremony was a blur. Gold medal around his neck, handshakes, photos. Reporters asked how it felt to be champion. The quiet boy searched for words. "It's not what I thought." Later, as he packed his gear, the private school coach approached. "Son, that was some impressive composure out there. My guy's gonna be fine, by the way, torn ACL, but he'll recover." He handed over a business card. "We've got a wrestling program at Kensington Academy. Full scholarships available, for the right talent." The quiet boy stared at the embossed lettering. Everything he'd worked for, served up on a silver platter. His coach's voice came from behind him. "You earned this." But when he turned, he saw his brother leaning against the doorway, watching silently. The ride home was quiet. His brother drove, windows down, letting the night air fill the car. "You gonna take it?" his brother finally asked. "That fancy school offer?" The quiet boy turned the medal over in his hands. "I don't know." His brother nodded like he'd expected that answer. "Mom would be proud either way." That hit harder than any punch. His mom, working double shifts at the hospital. His dad, wasting away in prison. The brother who'd raised him, now letting him go. The quiet boy looked out at the passing streetlights of their neighborhood, the cracked sidewalks, the corner store where they'd stolen snacks as kids, the alley where they'd learned to fight. "Maybe." He took a deep breath. "Maybe I don't have to choose." His brother glanced over. "How's that?" The quiet boy smiled for what felt like the first time all day. "Watch me." Epilogue, 1 year later. The high school gym was packed for the first home meet of the season. Coach stood proudly at the center mat, addressing the crowd. "This year, we're trying something new. Thanks to a grant from the State Athletic Commission, we're starting a free youth wrestling program. And heading it up." He gestured to the sidelines. "Your former state champion." The quiet boy, not so quiet anymore, stepped forward as a dozen wide-eyed middle schoolers fidgeted in their brand-new singlets. Among them, the girl's little brother bounced on his toes. Across the gym, his former bully leader, now team captain, gave him a thumbs up. In the bleachers, his brother clapped louder than anyone. As the first match began, the quiet boy watched his kids with a fierce pride. They'd never have to learn the hard way like he did. They'd know from day one that real strength wasn't about hurting people, it was about lifting them up. And that? That felt like winning.